Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining me. This is the morning market review. It's Monday, it's the 31st of July. My name is Russell Sharma, Senior Market Specialist at FXCM. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring up our disclaimers before we get on with the analysis. And we'll start off with a high-risk investment warning. Good morning, Zanetta. Good morning, Kim. Pleasure to have you on the webinar. Thank you, everyone, for signing in this morning. It is very much appreciated. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and bring up our market commentaries disclaimer. Hey, Mia, good morning to you. Thank you for signing in. Pleasure as always. And here is our references, MarketScope 2.0 and TradingView.com. All right, just bringing up MarketScope first, taking a look at the US dollar. And I've still got the LP question mark. In other words, looking for the lower peak. And there's no doubt about it that last week's candlestick was a strong candlestick. Take a look at the shape of it. Effectively, we have I was just checking the dates there. Effectively, we have a candlestick which was sold down, and then at the low, it's the bears that lose control, isn't it? And the bulls take over. But even though we do have a strong candlestick, it's within the confines of a lower peak, lower trough, and I think that we can still look for the lower peak here. And I think that it's not being too sort of too demanding to look for a lower peak. Why is it not too demanding? Well, we had our US PCE, that's the personal consumption expenditure, effectively inflation, that came through on Friday, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so the top chart here is the core PCE, and you can see that it's moving in this southeasterly direction. But I think what is really important is the fact that you've got the rate of change, which has moved quite markedly to the southeast as well. In other words, we've accelerated on the deceleration side. The deceleration has increased. So as long as we've got an increase in that deceleration, then we potentially are heading towards the inflation target of 2%. So we'll keep an eye on that. Clearly, the momentum is going in the right direction. And if the inflation seems to be coming down, well, one needs to keep an eye on the US dollar, because I would expect that the greenback feels the effect of that type of inflationary movement. Today we're going to get the CPI, or its preliminary CPI coming out of the euro area. That's going to come out at 11 a.m. ZA, 10 a.m. UK. And what we can do is we can do a comparison between the two inflation rates. So what we can do is we can take a look at the US. We'll use core PCE here, and we'll just divide core PCE by the euro area inflation. Okay, and let's see what kind of a chart we get. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay. Okay, it's flattening out on the top line here. Um, let's just change this from PCE to CPI. That's very odd. So when we're looking at it on a CPI basis, it's moving in that south-easterly direction. I think, one's because one's core and one's headline inflation. That's the difference. Okay, so let's just reiterate at 11 a.m. ZA, 10 a.m. UK, we're going to get the preliminary CPI coming out of the EU area. We saw the PCE come out on Friday. PCE on Friday is showing signs of definite moderation, and I think that what would be interesting is if we get a sticky EU inflation, we go through to the euro US dollar here, and what we can do is we can take a look at the inflation differential after after it comes out, and see if there is case to be made for higher trough, higher peak, higher trough, higher peak. Okay, and effectively we have this push down here, and I think that's quite interesting because what we want to do is we want to take a look and see if this is a dip in the uptrend that we can take advantage of. Dip, dip, and then we can try and move in on the upside. Dip, see if we can move in on the upside. Take a look here. We've got a dip over here and a potential dip over here, and see if we can take advantage of the upside. And I think that inflation differential, we'll take a look at it again tomorrow after it's been released, but that inflation differential is certainly an aspect which can affect the Forex pairs. All right, what's happening on the daily chart here is that we're still very much in zone 2. What I want to see here effectively is if there is a dip in the uptrend, I want to see a reference candle. Okay, so the reference candle is, here's the high of the reference candle. Here's the lowest low in at least 3 candles. If today's candlestick can take out Friday's high and close above it, then potentially we have a move to the upside here. Let's just take a look at the same time frame, but on the US dollar side of things. All right, so where is the reference candle? The reference candle would be Friday's candle over there. Okay, so let's move this over here. And we want to see if we can get price to take out Friday's low and close below it. So let's extend that over there. So still looking for these rallies in the uptrend for the dollar, for the dips in the uptrend in the euro. I want to go past the euro now and go on to the cable pairing. Let's just do an analysis for cable. All right. So here we've got the uptrend, higher trough, higher peak, higher trough, higher peak. And if we go through to our daily chart, sorry, I'm just trying to move that there. We've got the potential reference candle on Friday, and we're looking to see if we can close above Friday's high. And if we close above Friday's high, then potentially we have the movement to that northeast. So interesting shapes starting to take effect in the dollar, because there's an interesting shape in the dollar, interesting in the euro, interesting in cable. What I said we should start doing from this week is we should start looking at some of the commodity currencies. So I'm going to bring up the Aussie next, and then we'll take a look at the Canadian dollar after that. Let's see what type of shapes we're getting on the Aussie and the loonie. So let's just bring up AUD USD. I will do a top-down analysis on those. All right. Gee, it just looks like it's moving sideways. So the commodity currencies don't quite have the, let's cancel that, don't quite have the direction that the euro and the cable pairing have. It's just moving sideways. Let's take a look at the loonie. So Aussie looks like it's just moving in a sideways direction. Let's just put an arrow in there. All right, let's just take a look at the loonie pairing as well. And we're looking on a weekly basis here. All right, a little bit more shape here. So what we have, let's put in the peak over here. Let's put in the reference trough over here. We'll put in the lower peak there. Okay, we'll put in the lower trough here. Let me do that again. Lower trough. Yeah, and then we got some strong support on the loonie over here. But there does seem to be some sort of downtrend, and I think we can even put in a lower peak over here. Okay, so certainly seems as if the pressure is to the downside. That's confirmed by the RSI, which is under 50. Let's go through to the daily chart here, and not surprising we're in zone 2. You can just see how over the last few weeks it's been moving sideways. Let's just keep an eye on that. Okay, if the commodity cycle does start increasing, if the commodity cycle is showing some sort of upside, I would expect this downtrend to continue. Weaker US dollar, stronger Canadian dollar. Okay, that's so it does seem as if the trend is in the right direction. It's just we're stuck in no man's land at the moment. What's no man's land? Neutral. Okay, so what we can do is we can just keep an eye on some reference candles here. I don't think the reference candles here are quite as potent as say on the euro and the pound. Why not? Is because we don't seem to be trending at the moment. We seem to be moving sort of very flat. Okay, so but we're going to start keeping an eye on the commodity currencies, because I think that commodity cycle has got something to say, And if the commodity cycle is starting to move, then I think the commodity currencies are potentially not going to be far behind. All right, let's take a look at gold, and then we'll move on to DAX. All right, so we've got the breakout from the falling wedge pattern. If I had to put in a peaks and troughs, I'll put the trough over here. So let's put it over here. Let's put the peak over there. Let's put the higher trough there. Higher peak right over here. And I think then we can put the next higher trough there. Okay, so if the PCE, that core PCE, comes down, and if it pulls the dollar down with it, some potential support there for the precious metal. Interestingly, if you take a look at last week's candle, it's a doji, so there's some uncertainty with regards to gold last week. Not surprising, we are in zone 2 here. Okay, let's keep an eye on gold, but again, no man's land. All right, the very last chart for this morning. Let's just take a look at the DAX. Bring out the DAX pairing. I beg your pardon, the DAX index. And this is a very interesting chart. Last week we put a lot of scope into measuring the reference candle, and we got it. Yeah, you can see we got a very strong candle moving up. That was after the ECB's dovish monetary policy meeting on Thursday. It does look now as if we are attacking we're attacking the resistance, and we're at all-time highs now, right? So go through to the daily chart, and you can see that we've got a nice expansion in the upper band. We've got a nice expansion in the lower band, so there is an increase in volatility. Which side is the momentum? Momentum's to the bullish side, and what we can do is, well, we can take a look at the central pivot, see if the central pivot is going to act as support. We want to see trigger 1. In other words, we want to see the EMAs push to the upside. We want to see trigger 2. We want to see the stochastics push to the upside. And then if we can get those two triggers, and if we get the stochastic moving into the upper quintile and holding, then we potentially get a nice swing here as well. So it looks, we've just opened on the cash market. It does look as if the central pivot here is holding as support. Very, very interesting chart study. If we compare where we were exactly a week ago, really some good progress made on the DAX. All right. If there's any questions, go ahead and type those in. Let me just see, there are some questions here that I've missed. In a sideways market, should one trade between the limits or wait for a trend? Kim, my preference is to trade trends. Trading trends is considerably easier than trading ranges. Basically, with a trend, the momentum will tend to help with the trade. When you try trading sideways, you've got to be very specific with your entries on resistance and support. So I prefer trending markets. It's a good idea to follow the monthly chart reversal trends. Tomorrow's a new month. Yeah. So Zanetta, what we would like to do, if you've got any monthly charts you want to take a look at, we can take a look at them from tomorrow. The monthly charts will close today. I've actually got an article I'm going to write tomorrow on monthly Dow theory. So I'm just waiting for the month to close, and we'll do the we'll look at monthly Dow theory tomorrow. All right, guys, let us wrap up at this point, and we shall speak again tomorrow morning. Have a fantastic day ahead. Good evening, and we'll speak with you tomorrow morning. Cheers, guys.